Throughout its history, the United States, along with most of the world, have had a disdain or bad feelings towards foreigners entering their country. This is often referred to as nativism, and it's been used in various forms of media even today. But while the issue of immigration has been a key focus for political parties over the decades, there was one group whose entire existence centered on being anti-immigrant so much that they even rebelled against an entire religion. Welcome to Lace 'em Up Media, and in today's edition of the History of Political Parties, we take a look at the rise and fall of the Know Nothing Party. The 1830s and 1840s saw a few notorious acts of nativism in the U.S., with events like the 1834 burning of a religious convent in Massachusetts to two different riots breaking out in Philadelphia in 1844. These moments were born out of the fear of newly arrived immigrants coming to America for new opportunities, especially when it came to finding work. Many Protestants were also scared that these immigrants, notably German and Irish Catholics, would subvert the U.S. due to conspiracies promoting the idea that the Pope would secretly take over the government if Catholics were given any influence in the country. In 1849, a man by the name of Charles B. Allen founded a secret society in New York called the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner. To be a member of this group, you had to be 21 years old, be born to Protestant parents, and most importantly being extremely against Roman Catholics. Once you were in, members would identify themselves through special handshakes and secret phrases, with the group reaching 36 followers during the early stages. By the 1850s, xenophobia was on the rise in the U.S., as such many members of the secret society decided to spread their pro-nativist and anti-Catholic views from printed media into legislation. The election of 1852 saw former New Hampshire politician Franklin Pierce representing the Democrats and famed military general of the Mexican-American War, Winfield Scott, represented the Whig Party. This election also saw a lot of third parties running for president, including the American Party. But who were the American Party, you might be asking? Well, a few years after the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner was formed, the group became less of a secret society and more of a rising political party. Founded by Lewis Charles Levin, a U.S. representative of Pennsylvania, the party was originally called the Native American Party, but that name didn't stick around, so instead they referred to themselves as the American Party. This changed when famous editor of the New York Tribune, Horace Greeley, tried to get some information about this party, only for its members to remain hush-hush, leading to Greeley to name the group as the Know Nothing Party and its members as Know Nothings. Strangely enough, the party went along with this name, hence why we still remember them by this moniker. Anyway, back in 1852, the Know Nothings chose former Secretary of State and Whig Party member Daniel Webster as their nominee for president, despite Webster rejecting the offer. When it was announced that Webster had died a week before the election, the Know Nothings had to hastily choose another candidate, with the group picking fellow party members Jacob Broom for president and Raynell Coates for vice president. The duo ended up getting 2,556 votes, coming in fifth place. This is even more embarrassing when you realize that Webster came in fourth place in the election with 6,994 votes, even though he was dead by this point. Now you would think that a loss this massive would lead to the Know Nothings meeting their demise as a political party, but instead the 1852 election would only be a minor blow compared to what happened next. Following his landslide victory over Winfield Scott, Franklin Pierce would go on to have a presidency that was just as tragic as his personal life, with a president supporting legislation that did more harm than good. One such piece of legislation that Pierce supported was the infamous Kansas-Nebraska Act, which resulted in armed conflicts between pro- and anti-slavery forces, leading to violence so bad that the whole ordeal has been nicknamed Bleeding Kansas. Combined with Pierce's other failures as president and the fact that the Whig Party became extinct following the last election, many Americans soon turned their attention to the Know Nothing Party as an alternative, and by 1854 things would get better for the party. By the 1854 midterm elections, the Democrats' control of Congress was severely damaged, with the party losing seats in Congress to various opposition parties, and the Know Nothings, who ran 76 members in at least 82 different races, with only 35 of them actually winning. On top of this, the Know Nothings were even able to get one of their own placed into a high-ranking position, as future Union Army General Nathaniel Banks won his race to become the new Speaker of the House. With their victories in Congress, a growing appeal to the general public, as well as their influence in the Northeast and some of the Midwest, made the Know Nothings feel very confident going into the next presidential election. In 1856, the Democrats, despite the problems under Franklin Pierce, were able to select former Pennsylvania Senator James Buchanan as their nominee for president. The Know Nothings, meanwhile, would end up choosing former VP turned 13th U.S. President Millard Fillmore as their candidate, with Andrew Jackson Donaldson, the nephew of President Andrew Jackson, as Fillmore's running mate. In the wake of the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the growing tensions over slavery expansion, a new political party made up of former Whigs, Free Soilers, and even some Federalists would come together and run a candidate in the upcoming presidential election. That new political party would be the Republican Party. Yes, that Republican Party, and they would nominate former Senator of California and war hero, John Fremont, for president. The race saw Fremont and the Republicans making it clear that they want to stop slavery from expanding into the Western territories, while Buchanan and the Democrats are warning that a Fremont presidency will lead to a civil war. Despite the fact he wasn't a member of the Know-Nothing Party nor was he a nativist and he was out of the country when he got the nomination, Fillmore still accepted the role as he presumably saw this as his chance to win the White House, and he pushed for the idea of maintaining unity if elected president. When Election Day emerged, the results were made clear. The Democrats once again maintained the presidency for another 4 years. Although Buchanan was able to secure a solid win in the electoral vote, he won without winning 50% of the popular vote. John Fremont performed well enough as the first nominee under the Republican Party. The Know-Nothings did far better this time around, but sadly it wasn't enough to keep the party running for much longer. Many politicians were fearful of fully supporting the Know-Nothing Party due to their xenophobic beliefs and their inability to agree on an anti-slavery platform in the election. As a result, some of them would jump ship and join the Republican Party while others would join the Democrats. Following the Supreme Court's ruling in the case Dred Scott v. Sanford, the message was clear as to which parties were for and against slavery, leading to the remaining Know-Nothings to support the Constitutional Union Party in the election of 1860. As mentioned in the opening, nativism still exists in America, but any political party making it their main focus will likely suffer the same fate as the American Party, aka the Know-Nothing Party. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for new videos every day. Follow us on Bluesky Social and X for updates, and check out our website for articles on all things wrestling, film, and politics.